When Chinese President Xi Jinping met US President Donald Trump in Florida, the imbalance of trade between the two countries was high on their agenda. How much will Trump's proposed $1 trillion infrastructure plan for the next decade help this economic relationship? And how do things look for China's currency gaining a stronger role in the international financial arena? I'll be hearing the views of a panel of experts. Welcome to The Point. I'm Li Xin. China's dominant train manufacturer, China Railway Rolling Stock Corporation Limited, or CRRC, delivered a carriage to the U.S. for use on Boston's Orange Line. The news has again brought the expansion of Chinese rolling stock in the U.S. market sharply into focus. Since 2014, CRRC has grabbed more than 1,000 subway car and commuter train car orders across America, including Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. The Chinese company has also established construction and manufacturing centers in the U.S. and recruited many local workers. Considering the trade disagreements between China and the U.S., will the setting up of these centers and the creation of local jobs go some way to alleviating the present disputes? For more insight, I'm joined by Mr. Wang Huiyao, President of the Center for China and Globalization, an influential think tank in China. Mr. Wang, thank you very much for joining us here in the studio. As we just heard, since 2014, actually, CRRC has grabbed quite some contracts to manufacture subway cars for the U.S., for instance, over 280 for the greater Boston area. And then this was later expanded to a total of over 400 cars. And we understand that since beginning of April this year, another $650 million US deal for CRRC to produce underground carriages for San Francisco. How do you look at the success of CRRC in going into the U.S. market and providing cooperation opportunities?
Yes, I think this is really a very good example of Chinese companies that has been working on the infrastructure project in the U.S. CRRC is a state company, but then it's actually meet the local needs and provide the latest technology and also very good competitive prices. For example, they have actually bid on those several projects, and then they have won the bid. And as you mentioned, the latest was the $650 million new deals that in the Los Angeles and in that area. So I think that that shows there's such a potential, as President Trump has actually announced in the Congress that the U.S. is going to propose $1 trillion US dollar infrastructure deal during his term, and that represents an enormous opportunity on that. As a matter of fact, our think tank, Center for China Globalization, we just recently released a report on this, calling for the wide prospect of participating of Chinese company into the infrastructure project in the United States.
What are some of the key findings of this report? For instance, what are the business opportunities for both Chinese companies, including CRRC, and its local partners in building infrastructure in the U.S., upgrading infrastructure in the U.S.?
Yeah, actually, we found there's quite a lot of opportunities. For example, we identified the 7 opportunities that Chinese investment in the U.S. manufacturing will actually help Trump to realize his administration to boost the economy, and also that increased infrastructure investment in the U.S. will provide opportunity for both Chinese company and U.S. company. And the infrastructure corporation will promote China's rail transportation, particularly this sector, will really gain a lot of advantage of this infrastructure boom. Also, infrastructure plan will further motivate Chinese heavy equipment like Sanyi heavy industry and companies like that to get into the U.S. market. And also the mass transportation equipments like a Hyperloop, and we have a Chinese high-tech company. So high-tech company in China, we also have a chance there. And also infrastructure corporation with ongoing trend of large institutional investors, that you can have more investors, BOT, and the other scheme will also happening. And finally, I think those infrastructure corporations will align with the ongoing large investors in China and the U.S. And then they can collaborate, and then they can do a variety of coming with the finance, with the project, and with the opportunities.
Well, one of the things that has been on the mind of President Donald Trump is the huge trade deficit between China and the United States. What do you think increased bilateral cooperation in infrastructure can help balance these trade and investment deficit between the two?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. I think that there is existing deficit, but then if the Chinese investment can be more added into this overall picture. For example, when Chinese go into there, they create a lot of local jobs. For example, CRRC has created several hundred jobs already in the United States, which has been very good to help the local economy. Like Chinese auto glass maker Fuyao Glass has already invested over $1 billion and created over 3,000 or 4,000 jobs. So those jobs creation and make the manufacturing back to U.S. or strengthen the manufacturing in the U.S. was actually one of the objectives of Donald Trump's election. So those will really help address these imbalancing issues and create jobs and also increase the benefit for local U.S. economy.
According to your experience, what has been the biggest obstacle, though, for Chinese companies investing in the United States? Is it from the Chinese side, something we have to do, or from the U.S. side? For instance, there is the CFIUS process, which has been kind of a high threshold for many Chinese investors to expand their business in the U.S. What do you think is the future there?
Yeah, there is actually there's quite a few challenges. First is that this Donald Trump local company hire American workers, that could present some problem. But Chinese company adapting to that. For example, like CRRC, they actually send quite a few local Chinese from China. I mean, the staff, but majority are using local employees, and same for Fuyao auto glass maker as well. So I think if we adapt to that, maybe we can overcome that obstacles. Second is that this PPP actually could be as a model, private partnership, and that's actually, America actually is still not widely practiced. I mean, that's still something new. So that could be a challenge for Chinese company if we want to seek public and private partnership. So PPP is still a new thing in the U.S. and Chinese company have to learn from that. And finally, I think the obstacle is that Chinese company probably it has to get used to local politics. They have to lobby local municipalities, government, and federal government. So there's quite a few layers of learning curve for Chinese companies to do business in the United States.
Yes. Recently, U.S. President Donald Trump has made a small presentation with the help of one of his staff, showing a long chart of all the procedures a construction of a state-level highway has to go through in the United States, and the chart is like 2 to 3 meters long, and altogether 29 agencies involved. So simply to get the approval to build a state-level highway would take, in his words, something like 10 years. But China has seemed to be quite successful in getting its project not only designed but really implemented. In what sense can China share with the United States the kind of efficiency in pushing through such huge projects?
Yeah, I think there are already some good examples, like China Construction Corporation, which already have 3,000 employees in the United States. Over 95%, even 98% are local hires. So those are they are already undertaking bridges and roads and highways. I think you're right. The procedures can be very long, but on the other hand, I think once the bid is won, and then it's really the project management, the speed, the efficiency, and also the hard working spirit of the Chinese companies can be applied to the U.S. Infrastructure project, and also of the management of the project design and carry out efficiently. So even though the procedure may be a little bit longer, but then once you complete that, a smooth management on that by the Chinese company.
Well, we know President Donald Trump said he will ask the Congress to approve $1 trillion over the next 10 years. China, in its case, we have already invested more than $10 trillion in infrastructure projects over the past 10 years. And in the first 10 months of 2016, China actually invested $1.4 trillion already. What experiences can China share with the United States in that regard?
Well, I think there's many fronts. I think one of the good examples is the China speed railway. I mean, that's actually taking off, and it's networking now the longest high-speed network in the world. And then that actually, with CRRC as a very good shining example of they're getting project in Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, and many more cities to come. And that's really a good example. And then also, I think that because of the fresh know-how and fresh knowledge and fresh expertise that gain from this such a large scale of Chinese infrastructure program. Chinese companies have a lot of things to offer to the United States infrastructure, Donald Trump's $1 trillion scheme. So I think there's a management to be supplied. There's technology to be supplied. There's also project management and supervision and things like that. And also equipment. Chinese heavy equipment is also very developed, like Sanyi heavy industry and Zhonglian heavy industry. All those can provide a package. Plus, China Investment Corporation has also invested in many projects. Some of are infrastructure related. So I think package-wise, China can provide both management, equipment, and financial capital.
Solution.
Yeah, it's a one-stop solution.
Well, we definitely think we have a lot to offer, but on the other hand, from the perspective of the local people, the local competitors in the United States, for instance, you have traveled extensively. What do you think are some of the fears of the local communities when they're seeing a potential Chinese investment, either an acquisition or joint venture, and how can those fears be addressed?
Yeah. I think good example that would be, Chinese companies should pay much attention to the CSR, to the corporate social responsibility, and also create jobs. I think that's probably most people really care about, because if the community has jobs, which the community will be alive, will be sustainable. A good example, like for your automakers, they have created 3,000 or 4,000 jobs in the United States, which is welcomed by the local governors, local mayors, local congressmen. And I was personally attended one of the opening ceremony. It was 800 people cherished the event. So that kind of tension, it's just not a quick deal in and a quick deal out. If you have a long-term,
it's there to stay.
Yeah, it's there to stay and then to help. That really be welcome locally. Yeah.
Another very important opportunity is not just for US and China to cooperate in the United States, but also in third party markets. For instance, this One Belt, One Road initiative China has been promoting. This time, during President Xi and President Trump's meeting for the first time, actually extended China's invitation to the United States to join this initiative. We haven't heard any official response from the US side. What do you think is the scale of this opportunity, and what is your suggestion to our US counterparts?
Yeah, I think this is really a great progress, and China at the summit between President Xi and President Trump, President Xi officially suggested or maybe welcome US participating into One Belt One Road initiative. I think this is really great because One Belt One Road is such a new wave of globalization, and it actually involves many countries, many years to come, and large-scale project. And I think China and the U.S. have a lot of supplementary to each other roles in this kind of a grand project. And of course, U.S. has helped revive Europe after Second World War, and also helped Japan as well. So I think there is a lot of experience in the global governance, global legal framework, global language, and global customers. So U.S. has a lot of advantage, but China has a lot of infrastructure advantage, of course, as well. And so if U.S. company and Chinese company can work together in third countries, particularly on the One Belt One Road along those countries, that'll be a really great win-win situation for both countries and for the region of the One Belt One Road countries. So this is really a good initiative.
However, the United States has been hesitant or suspicious from the very beginning, and right now we still do not know what is on their mind when they hear this invitation. But in your report, your center has also recommended that the United States join this initiative. What are some of the most important arguments you want to present to the U.S. side, and what do you think needs to do in addition from the Chinese side to persuade the United States that One Belt, One Road is in their interest as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our CCG report actually has emphasized and actually recommended that U.S. participate, or China welcomes the United States to participate in One Belt One Road initiative. I think that there are several reasons. First of all, it actually makes the two country business tied together, particularly in the infrastructure, in the equipment supply, and in the also services. The Chinese company may be strong on the manufacturing, on the infrastructure, but the service sector, U.S. is very strong, because One Belt One Road also involves legal service, accounting service, engineering service, and also many other services. So I think U.S. complement each other well. Second, I think this has been OBOR has been viewed as a Chinese initiative. Actually, China is not. China is saying let's welcome every country. It's a global initiative. It's a new initiative for globalization. So United States is really been the champion of globalization for many years, and this is also a good opportunity to participate. And finally, I think that because U.S. has a lot of influence along the countries, China has an influence on those countries. If to work together, that can really pave the way for a smooth carry out of the One Belt One Road. And also it's good for the U.S. economy and for China's economy and the world as a whole. I think it's a win-win for both and all the OBOR countries.
Amid the joy and excitement following the decision of the International Monetary Fund to include the RMB in its special drawing rights basket in 2016, some people have said entry itself proves the internationalization of the renminbi is complete and is now a globally recognized reserve currency, while others say it only marks a new starting point for the yuan to become a popular global. I was recently joined by a roundtable panel of experts to discuss this issue. 2017 could be uneasy for China surrounding the new U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. Is a China-U.S. trade war imminent? Is China still attractive for foreign investors? And will the renminbi depreciate or appreciate? Joining me to discuss all of these questions are an extinguished panel. Let me introduce them to you. They are Claire Pearson, Chairman of the British Chamber of Commerce in China; Michele Geracci, Head of the China Economic Policy Program from the University of Nottingham, Ningbo, China; Tim Stratford, partner of Covington and Berlin LLP; Charles Liu, founder of How Capital; Xiang Songzuo, deputy director from Renmin University's International Monetary Institute; and David Wu, PwC China's Beijing senior partner. And the topic that's coming up is China's currency and the internationalization of the renminbi. Now, the Chinese renminbi has been included in the special drawing rights basket of the International Monetary Fund that came into effect last year. Let's take a look at this. Now, one view holds that the renminbi's inclusion in the SDR basket will bring a fresh wave of renminbi depreciation. Others argue that the Chinese currency may be poised for appreciation, as U.S. President Donald Trump has been accusing China of the biggest currency manipulator. Is the renminbi going to be more expensive or less expensive? What sides of the fence are you on? Yes.
Well, I would say, I've said this before, the inclusion of the renminbi into the SDR basket is something of no importance whatsoever. Just to make it clear.
So we were happy about nothing.
Of course, yes. We have had euro, in pounds and dollars in the basket. And if you know anyone who has been able to predict the appreciation or depreciation of those four currencies just on the basis that they were included in the SDR basket for the last several years, please let me know. Because no one can do that. The basket is $250, $300 billion that has been used only in very rare situations. The renminbi would be 10, 11%. So we're talking 20 billion, really nothing. And so it's just a formality. And in a way, countries should be very, very careful to make their own currency international because it creates lots of problems.
Is that the risk China is facing at this moment? I mean, the internationalization. That's why maybe we're not talking about it so much recently, Mr. Xiang.
Well, Chinese officials, to my knowledge, never use internationalization of RMB. They talk about international use of a cross-border use of currency, which means, I think, in their mind, majorly is a trade settlement by RMB. So by the end of last year, RMB settlement of a total Chinese trade, export, imports, almost one-third. Almost, it's, I think, exact figure is 27%. So, and in this sense, RMB has already the second most important trade currency. But in terms of financial transaction settlements, RMB now is number 4 or number 5, following dollar, euro, sterling pound and the Japanese yen.
And the Canadian dollar.
Yeah,
after the Canadian dollar as well.
No, not Canadian
okay.
dollar. So I think that's a natural development because of the rising share of Chinese trade among the world trades. And many countries are willing to settle at least part of their trade with China by RMB. But for financial sides, very complicated, Now, so far, China realized the capital account liberalization. So
even the statistics on trade, if we look at it again, the usage of renminbi for trade settlement has peaked in January 2016, just at the time. And then it declined since then.
Yeah,
now, I know it's a coincidence, but this peak occurred at the same time when the IMF granted the right to China to enter the SDR basket. And it had, since 2014, always gone up, almost, I know it's a coincidence, as a tool to help the negotiation. And then it peaked. Since then, the usage of renminbi for international trade settlement has gone down.
Eventually, the international use of renminbi is the eventual aim, or is that the long-term goal?
Why should it be?
I don't think the government has set up a goal or aim to net currency become a real
That is like almost
currency.
associated with China's international status, the renminbi being the international reserve currency. But for
that's just for face. Ultimately, any currency to become dominant on a global basis takes generations. RMB has only come on the scene for a few decades. And that's number one. Number two, I think what's more important is, as Professor Xiang said, the trade settlement is one aspect. But what we see, for example, with UnionPay cards, credit cards, are being used everywhere, all over the world. I go anywhere in Europe, I can use it. And even WeChat payment or Alipay all over Southeast Asia. So in a way, the cross-border transactions in RMB is far more substantial than what official figures would indicate.
I agree.
And that is important. It's just a question, what is currency? Currency is just a means of facilitating a transaction. It's a payment. As long as on the trade side and consumption side, it can be easily facilitated. That's it.
David.
Currency is a mean of payment, but currency is also a very, very important mean of confidence. Therefore, the world requires a stable and a responsible currency. And China, we have a long way to go to that goal. But including China in the international trading system and in the international monetary system as SDR, is a good and a welcome gesture, so that China will reform its financial system, prepare itself for the currency to be used more. Yes, for trading, and as a content, we want other people book their assets and liabilities in renminbi. Once they go to that direction, then the confidence in the currency is, and then that really means we need to have a high standard governance of the financial system and the economy. So that is an important indicator for the financial reform.
That was a special roundtable discussion on the Chinese currency, the renminbi. And that's it for this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin, here on CGTN. Watch our program live on the CGTN Live application, or go to the CGTN page on YouTube, click on playlist and look for The Point with Liu Xin. As usual, follow me on Facebook and Twitter using the handle The Point with Alex. I'll see you next time on CGTN.